Hello and welcome back to the Red and White podcast. Today with me is Shrewsbury fan in to preview Saturday's upcoming fixture at the Stadium of Light, Matt Beeston. Matt, thanks for joining us. How are you?
All right, thank you for having me on. I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, great. I always like to hear the opposition's view. I was having a bit look at your form recently. 14 points in 6 games. Out of those 6 games, Charlton a 1-1 draw, and Hull, Lincoln, and Doncaster all, I believe, 1-0 away wins. You must be doing great recently.
Yeah, I'm doing very well at the moment. I mean, obviously we had the cup game last night, which obviously we had a 3.5 week break from COVID, which we played all right last night. But obviously in terms of the league games, I mean, yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, Cottrell's coming. It's a completely new lease of life for the players.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think's been going right? Like the last few games, because obviously still 20th in the league, it probably did not have the best start. Has anything changed?
Well, it's pretty much, to be honest, the same formation. I mean, he's Cottrell's come in and tweaked obviously a few things. I mean, under our old manager, obviously Sam Ricketts, he was playing sort of a 5-3-2, but it was just very defensively set up. And whereas Cottrell, he's come in and obviously he's got the experience from being at other clubs, and he's playing a more attacking 3-5-2, and we seem to be he's got us more organised defensively, and we actually look a threat going forwards. So and obviously we're starting to reap the rewards.
Yeah, we're familiar with like the three at the back system. We played it for just about all of this season until Phil Parkinson got sacked not long ago, and quite a lot for last season. Pretty much since Parkinson came in, we've been played three at the back since about December of last year up until very recently. So we're aware of it, and I think a lot of Sunderland fans didn't like it because they thought it was five, and it came across negative. But I always thought it was three at the back because I viewed the wing backs as part of the midfield. So would you say that since the new manager's it's Cotterill, isn't it? Since he's came in, he's essentially just like pushed those wing backs up into the midfield and forming a midfield five as opposed to a defensive five?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we did have as wing backs Charlie Daniels, who's no longer with us, and Matt Miller, who was on loan from Newcastle Jets from Australia. And both of them since Daniels has terminated his contract. It was only a short-term deal, and Miller's gone back to Oz. But yeah, they were sitting far too deep under Ricketts, and it was sort of obviously instruction to not bomb forward up the pitch, but with Cottrell coming in, he's obviously it's more like five in the middle. And you got the two in midfield as well in Norburn and Vella, who've since Cottrell's come in has been very, very good. And he's playing proper number 10, which we've been crying out for years. And we're actually playing two strikers up top. So it's a relief to actually be watching some good attacking football.
Yeah, we've been struggling going forward recently. That's been our main problem is going forward. I think creating chances. I think when we create chances, we tend to score goals. I don't think we've been able to create enough. I mean, we won 3-0 fortunately on Saturday. Charlie White scoring a hat trick. But last night a 2-1 loss away, a loss at home. Sorry, against Plymouth. It was really disappointing, and I was struggling to pinpoint what exactly I felt went wrong in my reaction. I couldn't really put it down to, but I think just a lack of chances created. I noticed. I think you've got the second least goals in the league. Your top scorer being Sean Wally with only 5 goals. So are you struggling to score goals?
Yeah, I mean, still obviously under the new regime, we've still only winning games, by 1 goal margin. So I think our last few games, we've all been 1-0s. So only the odd game where we scored 2. But I think he's got to be given time. The fans know that obviously this is a project under Cottrell, and so they know what he's done at League One level before with Bristol City. His League One record is very good. I know his record's a bit hit and miss in the Championship, but some of the clubs he went to were a bit questionable. But yeah, I think he's going to do very well for us.
Yeah, we're in a similar position ourselves, really, with Lee Johnson. You've just got to kind of trust and believe in the process. I think, Bristol City was the club I think he took them from a real championship relegation battling side right up to a side that were pushing on for promotion to the Premier League and missed out about 3 seasons in a row. But the jobs that he's done before at Oldham, the way he solidified them and kind of boosted them, I think Sunderland fans have just got to trust that Lee Johnson's building something. So I think we're maybe in a fairly similar situation. Of course, Sean Wally only scoring 5 goals a season, being your top scorer. Do you think you haven't got the players there to score goals, or it's rather that you can't create the chances?
I think it's been a mixture of both, to be honest. I mean, Wally, by rights, is not a striker. He's mainly played as winger, but as of recent years, he's been playing winger, striker, number 10, wing back. So he's become a bit of a utility player for us, but he's best out on the wing. And I still reckon, I think he's 33, 34 now. So, on his day, he's still one of the best wingers in the league. And in terms of creating chances, we've got players, Jason Cummins, who, when fit, he knows where the back of the net is. Leon Clark.
He's the young lad, isn't he?
Yeah. So, well, I'll have it on good authority from, because I know somebody in the club that, tells me certain things about certain players. And he says, that Cummins' attitude is completely all wrong. So, which is a shame, really, because the potential's there. He could be one of the top strikers in the league, and he's just not putting his mind to it, really. And obviously you've got the likes of Leon Clark, who has obviously been there and done it, Premier League and all the other divisions, and we've got who I rate quite highly, Daniel Udo, who he's not the biggest of players, but he is very good at holding the ball up, and he brings others into play. And I just wish he could get a few more goals. But I think with time and a bit more coaching, I think he's capable of doing that.
Yeah. So with the player you just mentioned there, target man football, is that a common theme that you're playing?
We, over recent years, we've definitely become a bit of a hoof team. I mean, yeah. Against the best of teams, we always seem to try and play a bit of decent football when we play the better sides in the league. And then against your likes of your Rochdales and your Wimbledons and that, we just seem to be playing a lot of hoofball, which I don't understand why we try and do it, because it never works. So yeah, I think, well, the fans are fed up, but of the hoofball. But I think obviously with Cottrell, he'll play a bit more attacking style, a bit easy on the eye to watch.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that just play hoofball in League One. I mean, so too often teams come to the Stadium of Light and just put 10 men behind the ball and have one big lad up front, and all they ever seem to do is just hoof the ball to him, hope he can hold it up, and then with the odd time to get into the final third, it's just cross it in the box, and hopefully he can get something on it and it goes in. We've had to put up, I think, a lot with teams just coming back and sitting back and hoofing the ball every time they get it, and look at a play off a big man up front. Just with you mentioned there, having a player who was big and could take the ball down. I think that the few times we've played that's the impression I've got, where it's a team that's going to kind of sit back, make things difficult, not make anything easy. Plenty of crosses into the box when you do go forward. And when you aren't going forward, it's just clear the ball. We've been playing a lot of hoofman football ourselves, really, I guess you could say, this season. But I think under Lee Johnson, likes to have a little bit more link-up play going forward. We've changed to the 4-2-2 formation. With the two midfielders sitting, the two kind of wide attacking midfielders and two strikers. And I think the aim, from what I've seen, has been to play it along the floor and have a bit link-up play, especially with what's essentially now a front four, in that being Wyke the striker, O'Brien, McGeady, Diamond, Embleton. We'll change it up. And I think it's working for us, because I think something when you go with target man football, the teams figure you out, and if you man mark the lad up front and you stop the crosses coming into the box, there's nothing you can do.
Oh, definitely agree with that. So, I mean, like I say, we're trying. I think we're also in that process now, just trying to, recruit different, kinds of players. In this window alone, we've, who I, in my opinion, we've been signing sort of championship quality players. Whether it's on loan or whether it's, on a short-term permanent deal. So I think our transfer policy, going forward is definitely going to be different because we've always been the sort of club that sort of scouts the lower reaches of the leagues, the non-leagues, and try and find a rough diamond. I think that the last proper player we had that we scouted from the non-leagues was Fajiri Okunibiri, and he's a natural goal scorer. And he's a superb player, and he's just a natural ball finisher. And then he fell out of favour with Ricketts, and he couldn't get a game. And lo and behold, we go and sell him to Doncaster, and obviously he's now bagging goals for fun.
Yeah, I've got a mate who's a Doncaster fan, and he's not too keen on Fajiri Okunibiri. He just says he's like Bambi on ice when he's going forward. Interesting that you raised that point in recruitment there. Recruitment's a problem we've struggled with for the longest time, and I think since we came down to League One, it's been prevalent as well. And I think what we've done since we've came down to League One is we went, right, who's been promoted from League One before? Who knows this league well? Right, put them in a team. And we made signings like the typical Reece James, of course, Doncaster now, Max Power, who's still now a team, is being pushed out of fullback. Recently, Charlie White, of course, who's still here up front, and it's taken him about 2.5 seasons to just even look as if he's going to score a goal every other game. Now the third top goal scorer in the league, but we've had our really real struggles with him, and I think there was a point when his goal tally was about 1 in every 7 games, which for a striker, just if you were taking that one to go, it just isn't good enough. I'm trying to think of other players off the top of my head. I guess when we brought Josh Scowen in last season, it's just a player who is been there and done it in League One. The defenders we brought in when we came down to the league, being Tom Flanagan, Jack Baldwin, players who just played in League One. And I think sometimes I look at us and I think what we need to do instead is get players who are going to fit the team. And sometimes the way you do that is you go down to non-league and you find those rough diamonds and you put them in a certain formation, in a certain system around certain players with a certain tactic, and you get the best out of them. And maybe players like Fajiri Okunibiri had the potential to play in League One, but just weren't getting recognised because they weren't quite playing to the full strength in the lower divisions.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In terms of, I noticed before I came on, so the club strangely tweeted about we've signed Brendan Galloway from Luton.
Oh God, mate, he's awful.
He's awful.
Well, in all fairness, we had him in the Championship, and that'll have been 3 seasons ago. It'll have been so our 3rd season in League One, and he was with us in the Championship, I believe, in the 2017-18 season, just before we got relegated. And just one memory always sticks out for me. For me with him. So I was sitting quite close to him, really. First game in the Championship against Derby County. I think we all thought, yeah, Championship, it's going to be a lot easier than the Premier League. And I think we all kind of expected that we were going to breeze a top half finish at the very least, maybe push on for playoffs, maybe even get automatic. And Derby came at us 10, 15, 20 minutes in, and it was, I think, I'm forgetting his name now. He was a winger for Derby, the lad with the blonde hair. Russell, I think his name might have been. He was on the right.
Johnny Russell.
Yes, that was him. Yeah. And he's up against Galloway, and he takes the ball out of the touchline, and he gets round him and squares the ball across the box into Bradley Johnson, and Galloway just looked as if he wasn't even there. And I think my memories of him of that season were he was just consistently out of position. Having said that, that was 3 seasons ago, and it was in a league above. He'll be about 24, 25, I think now, and potentially even older, and a lot more experience, and in a division that's a lot lower with a lot less expectation. But yeah, if you're asking for my opinion on Brendan Galloway, I wouldn't be too excited if he came back to us.
Well, it's I'd rather hear an honest opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always wanted to ask a Sunderland fan this, right? Because obviously, if I said the name to you, Donald Love,
do you know what? I had this on my notes to go through.
like what's the big deal about Love? Why do Sunderland fans hate him so much?
Well, he came in when we were in the Premier League. It was the season we got relegated, funnily enough. And he came in with Paddy McNair, who's now at Middlesbrough, doing quite well in all fairness, for a combined 5 million fee. Around the same time, it was only about a couple of weeks later, we loaned in Adnan Januzaj, who of course I'm sure you'll know, from Man United to play just behind Defoe, and we played like 4-4-1-1. So Januzaj was key to David Moyes' team, really. And I think a lot of fans think that the reason we bought McNair and Love for 5 million was so we could get Januzaj on loan for the season. A lot of fans seem to think that that might be part of the Januzaj deal, was you've got to buy these two off our hands for 5 million first. And I think Love initially did play for us in the Premier League, and of course he just wasn't up to scratch. And you know, of course, I think he ended up getting pushed out the team, and someone else played there, and you know, you could tell like, what's this player we've got in our hands? I remember Paddy McNair, we played Man City away and we got beat, I think 2-1. Being McNair's debut, I'm not sure if it was Donald Love, and McNair came on with not very long to go and ended up conceding an own goal. And I think he got the nickname of Paddy McNightmare, because it was a really, really bad own goal. From the top of my head, he more or less passed it into the goal without going back and watching the clip. It was quite a while ago, in all fairness. I don't think I've watched it much since, for obvious reasons. And we ended up getting relegated, and we played in the Championship, and we ended up playing, after Simon Grayson got sacked, we ended up reverting to a 3 or 5 back formation ourselves. I think, looking back, that was more of a 5 at the back formation, and Love used to play on the right hand side of the 5, and it was just clear as day that he just wasn't good enough to play in the Championship for Sunderland. He just didn't have it, and you can go in and talk about why, but it's just something to just say, you know, he wasn't up to standard. And then I think when he came into League One, in all fairness, we didn't get much of a chance, because we had Adam Matthews there, player who's played for Celtic for years. A lot of fans weren't too keen, but I thought he was quality in his time at Sunderland. And then when he got injured, we ended up shifting Luke O'Nien, who was more of a number 10 really when we bought him, or at least a box-to-box midfielder. We ended up pushing him out to right back, to cover for when Matthews got injured about midway through the season, and 09 did really well. And to be honest with you, he would still, when he's back fully fit, which could be Saturday actually, he's probably the one of the first names on the team sheet at right back, as much as I would still like to see him pushed into midfield. So he didn't get much of a chance, Donald Love, to be fair, since we came down to League One. But I think Sunderland fans just have memories of him playing in the Championship and just looking like a lost child, because he just looked so far out of his depth. But I was going to ask you actually, feel free to comment on anything I've said, but once you have, just about how he's getting on at Shrewsbury, and you know, is he doing well?
Well, let's just say he's out of the squad. I think he's training with the kids at the moment. So I think
now,
sorry,
he'll be about 25 now, won't he?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, he made one calamitous error for us in the FA Cup against Liverpool. Just started the second half, and they just pumped the ball forward, you know, from out wide, and it was going nowhere near. And he just sort of put his foot out, and he just went in the bottom corner, and everyone's just like, "What on earth just happened?" You know, I was in the opposite stand where the goal went in, and it was just like, "What, has that gone in?" Nobody seemed to know what happened. It just like, "Oh Christ!" You know, Liverpool scored again. And obviously, I think since then, I don't think he played 1 or 2 games after that. And I think his only game this season was in the league. What was it? The Papa John's Trophy game. Cottrell played him in a back 3, so right side centre half, and he was completely clueless. So I know he's playing out of position, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be a certain size and stature, yeah, and to know how to play at centre half, especially when you're playing a proper 3 at the back. And he just didn't have
more pressure.
Yeah,
there's if you're playing at the wide centre back of a back 3, there's a lot of pressure on you, because you've got to cover that role of full back essentially when the wing back doesn't get back, and when the wing back is back, you then got to act as a centre back. And I think sometimes 3 at the back, if you want a really great defender, it can confuse you, and it ain't the best it isn't suited to some players. But I was interested in how he's getting on. So he's been largely a disappointment really at his time at Shrewsbury.
I'd say on the whole, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. When he actually started, he was a solid player for us. So I mean, he was never the greatest at going up the pitch, and his crossing was a bit bit off. But defensively, he was solid. But like I say, he fell out of favour, and we've not seen him for ages now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not surprised because, as I say, he did play for us. I do believe he did play for us when we came down to League One. He did play some games. I think I'll be right in saying he might have even played our very first game. That could be wrong, but he definitely did play for us. But as I say, every single time he's played to me, he's just looked like a lost child on the pitch, where he's just out of position, just can't defend, can't really go forward, and just I don't want to attack the lad, but he's never really seemed to offer us anything. And I think that's been a common opinion among Sunderland fans, that he was just completely out. He's definitely, it really begs the question as to why we forked out what was essentially $2.5 million for him. If you're going to look at it, that we paid $2.5 million for him and McNair. I mean, I can see what we saw in McNair. He's doing well for Middlesbrough in the Championship, and he had a really good spell before he left us in the Championship. Scored just about every other game for about 10 games running. And I think he's meant to be doing quite well in Middlesbrough now, from what I've heard. But Donald Lubb, I don't know how he's even managed to get to secure a position at your club. I was expecting him really to end up dropping down to non-league, and that's just what he might have to do, because I can't see him. I can't see him still playing in even League One, and it begs the question to me, like, how on earth did this lad stay at Man United until the age of about 21, 22 when he came to us?
No, I agree. I think he's out of contract at the end of this season. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he does go, or we'll just run up his contract or whatever. Yeah, well, in fairness, we've got to ship a load of players out. I mean, I know at the moment Cottrell's in hospital. Granted, he's out of ICU now with COVID. So from my understanding is he's doing a lot better. So he's talking to the players now, and talking through to Alan Wilbraham, so who's taking over just for the time being. But yeah, our squad is so massively over bloated. So I mean, really, we need to get rid of probably about 5 or 6 players, because Ricketts made it such a unbalanced team. We had, I think, on the books we had 3 or 4 right backs, and Ricketts would go and play a central midfielder at right back. Which obviously makes absolutely no sense. And
instead
then,
of playing Donald Love.
Yeah, he's playing centre halves at right back, and it's just it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of experience playing full back, playing centre mids at fullbacks. I mean, Max Power, I've just mentioned that he's been centre midfielder for just about his entire career. I do believe he played occasionally at right back for Wigan, but he's been playing right back the last few games for us. And to be fair to the lad, he's done quite well. And I think he's actually done a lot better at fullback than he has in midfield. Luke O'Nien, of course, I mentioned, I want to see him pushed up the field when he comes back from an injury, but he's been pretty much since, I would say, around about November, December time of the 18-19 season, he's been our first choice right back. Really, and I mean, you can go back to the Premier League. Craig Gardner was a centre mid, and we ended up putting him at right back. Jack Colback was a centre mid. We ended up putting him left back. Absolutely tons of players who've ended up centre mids who we've ended up pushing out a full back. But I think centre mids sometimes make decent full backs. Really, to think that for both positions you need to be a relatively all-rounded player, but with full back there's just a little bit less pressure and potentially. I mean, going forward, obviously he's 20th in the league now. He's going to be going on a decent little run. Do you just need to maybe figure a few things out, like Cotter will work his magic and you'll be sort of getting more points and climb up the table?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think a lot of it will depend on how quickly Cottrell can get back in the dugout, because I do think, although obviously it's he's instilling his ideas and his tactics towards Wilbraham, it's not quite the same as him, being in the dugout and barking out orders. But I do think, for the remainder of the season, I think we can, if we get a mid-table finish, I think that will be a very good, considering where we were. and then hopefully next season we can push on and try and get in the playoffs.
Yeah, fairly straightforward question. What tactic or what player do we need to be most worried about going into playing on Saturday?
I'm going to say Sean Worley, purely because when he does get the ball, he he can run directly at players. He's quick and good, good close control. Knows where the net is. So and like I say, at the moment he's playing up top, striker. So unless we change the formation for injury reasons or something like that, then I think Worley will be the key player to if we can get a decent result.
Yeah, well, at least we'll know who we can look out for now then. And of course, the last question, a prediction.
I'm going to go for I'm going to go 1-1 draw. So I know you're probably you're probably fed up with hearing a 1-1 draw. But I think a point away at the Stadium of Light I think will be a decent result for us.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sick of saying 1-1. At times I just think, can we not concede another one like we did on Tuesday night, and then at least it's 2-1. It's just something a little bit different, a bit scoreline, but of course not. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ended at 1-1 because a lot of our games do. But I think looking at how you don't tend to score a lot of goals. And in all fairness, one thing I'll give us credit for this season is that we haven't been leaky defensively. There's been very few games where we've been made defensive errors that have led to goals and that we've conceded many goals. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kept a clean sheet. Defensively, I noticed you only conceded 25 goals. You tend to be quite sound defensively. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't go forward and score loads of goals. But we struggle to score goals as well. It's probably one of our main problems until the last few games, at least, has been going forward and scoring goals. So I think, with all that said, I think I'm going to go with a 1-0 win. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't manage to score against us with your kind of lack of goals going forward, and in how we tend to with your lack of goals going forward and how well we tend to defend. And I do think we will nick a goal because we have been scoring at least a goal a game relatively recently, and I just think it's a case of getting chances to Wyke, and he will score. But Matt, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, well, it's all right. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, been a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you to everyone for listening as well. We'll be back for the next preview, whoever it's against, as hopefully as quick as I can.